It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I think this happened about 1:25, I think it was Central Time last night.
The Fox News decision desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
They have Trump right now with 277 electoral votes, Harris 226. Not a lot has moved overnight. Now, you've got media organizations like Associated Press, the New York Times, the Washington Post. They have not yet called the election, even though, Eric, you were just telling me that they've got now Wisconsin very, 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 very likely
actually
going to
just
Trump.
One very, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think you added some that could be a little bit of embellishment there.
Misinformation?
Maybe.
Okay.
But if you look at and now it's gone it's gone back in the last minute. In fact, just click back to likely Republican in Wisconsin. But at the top of the hour, they had it very likely Wisconsin. Let me double check that. I'm going to refresh that page here to go back, and it's still it is likely. It was updated again, and that meter, by the way, moves. But you have three states now that they have likely Republican in terms of where they believe it will end up, and that would be Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada. Trump performing very well in Clark County in Nevada. It is very close, within 1 percentage point there in Clark County, Las Vegas, the blue county in terms of Nevada. But you look at Wisconsin and Michigan, doing the breakdown in Wisconsin with 94% of the votes in. I don't see. This is why some media outlets have already called Wisconsin for Trump. I don't see her overcoming a deficit. It's funny that I said the other day that I was doing a couple of scenarios, and as I was laying them out, I thought, wow, it's possible he wins Wisconsin and not Michigan. But if you look at both Wisconsin and Michigan, if those leads hold, then he's going to win both. Now, it has tightened in Michigan, according to the New York Times, with 94% of the votes counted. He's now at 50%. She's at 48%. He's got 2,671,000 votes in Michigan, and she has 2,561,000 votes. So we're looking at 110,000 vote difference. That has gotten tighter over the last hour and a half or so. There was, at one point, over a 300,000 vote difference with Trump in the lead. But now he leads by about 110. And that's because of Wayne County. You look at Wayne County is Detroit. It is the bluest county. But with 86% of the votes in, again, doing the math on that, I don't know that she's able to overcome the deficit that she has statewide with just Wayne County. We'd have to sit here and crunch numbers for hours in order to get to that point. But I don't see that math. But nobody has called Michigan yet. Wisconsin has been called by a couple of media outlets. Nevada by just one media outlet that we saw. But you're looking at zero ways for her to win. I mean, there is no path. The New York Times, it's what's frustrating here is they're not calling the election. Well, it's not over yet. It's over. And because they made the point, a reporter made the point on their thread, their live updates, as they call them, a few hours ago, that it was going to be that there was a couple of ways he could win, but the clearest path was to win Pennsylvania. And he's won Pennsylvania. They've called Pennsylvania for him, but they haven't called the election for him.
Well, I was reading in CNN where they're like, the pass for Trump, which are there already, and the pass for her would have to include Alaska. It's like, well, she can't get Alaska. Let's hear from former President Trump last night from West Palm Beach. Yes.
Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends in this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Yeah, that's actually quite funny. Look what happened.
And then he went on a 20-minute little admiration speech on SpaceX, which was interesting. Because he was thanking Elon Musk and talking about how he was impressed with watching what goes on there at SpaceX. But you look at where we are now, and there are things that resemble 2016 and also things that really outshine 2016. You and I were talking off the air earlier, and we've said it since 2016. If people had heard his victory speech, which, most people didn't because it was in the middle of the night, and as our boss says, nothing great happens in the middle of the night. You would have heard him using the words we, and we did this, and the word we came up a lot during that victory speech then. And you heard that a few hours ago. And that resembles that spirit of, what, he started off, in fact, talking about healing a nation and that kind of thing. I'm not sure if I have my expectations on that. But the question is, again, how soon do you go to work, and do they have a greater consensus building toolkit, this incoming administration? I would say they do.
Well, again, when you talk about what unites people, as we've talked about before, we've talked about what is it to be an American? It's to believe in the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah.
When you talk about uniting people together, it's finding the things that people mostly agree on,
right,
that won't bankrupt the country.
Yeah.
And that's how you unite a nation. Look, we said this when Kamala Harris was trying to co-opt the major things that Trump believed in. And we said, wow, Trump has united the nation, because Trump got the opposition candidate who is as far left as you can to not go far left, to actually embrace things that he believed that were moderate. And right then at that point, when all the media was jumping on, well, how do you know she doesn't believe it? Mark Cuban, how do you know she doesn't believe it? How do you know she doesn't believe it? Well, fine. Well, then she agrees with Trump.
Yeah.
She agrees with Trump on the issues. So why is he Mr. Evil if on the issues, the opposition candidate and the opposition that calls him a Nazi, his supporters, garbage, are embracing what they believe? And so that's how you unite. I want to play this audio. This is from Scott Jennings. This was very early in the morning when he was on CNN reflecting on Trump's impending victory in the coming Harris concession.
What's he saying?
Well, look, he has an opportunity here to try to unite the country after a huge victory. And this is a mandate. He's won the national popular vote. for the first time for a Republican, for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans, fix immigration, try to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids, and they feel like they have been told to just shut up when they have complained about the things that are hurting them in their own lives. I also feel like this election, as we sit here and pour over this tonight, is something of an indictment of the political information complex. I mean, we've been sitting around here for the last couple of weeks, and the story that was portrayed was not true. I mean, we were told Puerto Rico was going to change the election. Liz Cheney, Nikki Haley voters, women lying to their husbands. Before that, it was Tim Walz and the camo hats. Night after night after night, we were told all these things and gimmicks were going to somehow push Harris over the line, and we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like that they were barely able to tread water at best. That was the fundamentals of the election. And so I think that both parties should always look at the results of an election and figure out what went right and what went wrong. But I think for all of us who cover elections and talk about elections and do this on a day-to-day basis, we have to figure out how to understand, talk to, and listen to the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough. And I think for Van and for you and for Axe, I mean, I've been on the losing side of tough nights here and in my professional life. It's not easy to lose a race like this. One of my most crushing nights was 2012. I know it was one of your best, and one of your best because we were there in the same state together. And so I understand, and I do think that the new president has a responsibility to make the whole country feel like they can be part of a more optimistic future. I do think the way this campaign was run was basically on the Democrats thought there were enough people who hated Trump or were willing to fear him to win the race. And it turns out there's more to being president than simply not being Donald Trump in the eyes of the American people. I'm a little worried about how Democrats are going to react. They've been told Trump is a modern-day Hitler, or at least he's a fascist. And now Kamala Harris, I suspect, is going to have to wake up in the morning and concede to that person. And then she's going to have to go to the Senate and certify the election. And
which she will do.
She'll do that.
And I'm a little concerned about an election in which half the country was conditioned to believe that the person who just won the national popular vote is going to be a dictator, eliminate the Constitution, and create a bloodbath, and so on and so forth. So
Can I say something about that?
we have to reckon with that in the aftermath of that argument.
You know, one of the things that I love that he talked about, and you and I were going to bring this up, maybe not today, but since he brought it up, the entire thing that every couple of days there was a new gimmick that would get the Democrats the win. The little gimmick. Yeah. Oh, Liz Cheney's going to get him, the vote. What he forgot was what Scott forgot there. Scott, how could you possibly forget it? The Taylor Swift impact. Remember?
Sure.
Taylor Swift will get him the win. All these little gimmick things and ignoring the huge thing that everybody knew. They knew it. They knew it was inflation. They knew it was the border. They knew it was crime, but they ignored those and they just threw in the little gimmicks. Here's the next gimmick that's going to get the Democrats the win.
Yeah, I mean, I would say most of the votes she got that she actually did get were because of Taylor Swift and not her.
So I'm wrong.
Well, I can't find a reason why people would vote for her. It's just, I get the Taylor Swift vote.
So it was the Taylor Swift vote that got her the votes that she did get.
She did this poorly. It was all Taylor Swift. It really is.
Sorry, that's funny.
It really is. It was always going to end this way. When Mueller was up there testifying on Capitol Hill after the whole Russian hoax thing, something that was built on nothing, such a huge set of lies, dangerous lies. His testimony that day was so horrible, and it was always going to culminate in that kind of botched testimony because it was just built on nothing, as was this campaign. She got not one vote to become the nominee. Not one. Not one. So advice to the Democrats. However it goes down, there has to be a process where people choose the nominee.
And the other thing is, you've got to take a stand on an issue. The Seinfeld, and I didn't wear it tonight, my Seinfeld Costanza, for president shirt. I think I wore it last night or the night before. That a campaign about nothing doesn't get you a win.
Exactly.
Because that was the biggest thing. People didn't know where she stood on the issues.
Right. She was all over the place.
Right.
And nobody believed her.
My favorite was, I don't want to ban fracking. I just won't expand fossil fuels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Tropical storm Rafael is now traveling in the Caribbean Sea in a northwesterly direction, with landfall expected in Cuba Wednesday. And as USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey notes,
that system will be weakened a little bit by its passage across western Cuba. Then as the system enters the Gulf of Mexico, we do expect a more hostile atmospheric environment related to drier air being entrained by the hurricane, as well as some increasing wind shear related to the storm system across the central and southern Great Plains.
While not expected to be a hurricane as it approaches the U.S. Gulf Coast, Rippey says what is left of Rafael should provide remnant tropical moisture.
So we do expect to see an increase in shower activity in parts of the central and eastern Gulf Coast region. Eventually that should spread further into the southeast. Any moisture at this point after 5 to 6 dry weeks would be actually beneficial in places like Georgia and South Carolina.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Sorry, we're going over some of the.
Listen, audience.
Okay, we were looking at the Senate races.
Yeah.
There were in Montana? Why don't they call Sheehy the winner yet?
I don't know.
Up by 10, right? Up by 10 with 74% of the vote in. You said a little while ago.
Yeah, 74.
By 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what in Montana is going to change to take that kind of a lead out of there? McCormick up a full point over Casey in Pennsylvania with 96% of the vote in. And Wisconsin, we both have 94%. I have Baldwin losing right now by 1.7.
Mm-hmm.
You said 0.2 to me before.
Not 0.2, 2.
Oh, 2. I thought,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They're rounding it off then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. All right.
Right.
So you have a good chance of it 2, maybe 3. Now the others, the Republicans are in the lead, but the races are so close.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
so you could really have 53-54 Republicans in the Senate is a distinct possibility.
Mm.
From the Uniden America Studios, it's up to the minute election 2024 results all night with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. CNN now has projected a Trump win with 276 electoral votes at this moment. And
Well,
Harris
that's it. I
219.
think Red Eye Radio can officially then also project a Trump win. Oh, New York Times has called it.
New York Times called it too?
277.
Okay.
Well, that didn't take all night.
CNN gives
They called Wisconsin.
yeah, CNN.
I
New
go
York
down the
Times?
hall for one break.
Yeah.
One break. All show. You and I have been just crunching numbers and everything else, glued to our screens. We walk away, and the world calls the race for Donald Trump. How'd that happen? The Wisconsin call, of course. I want to see, by the way. They show right now the count. And this is what's interesting is they're still Nevada and Arizona and Alaska, although New York Times does have the very likely still for Alaska.
Come on.
You think? They have leans Republican for Arizona and likely Republican for Nevada. Likely Republican for Michigan. So now more than 95% of the votes in Michigan. And it's 50-48, Trump winning in Michigan. He's ahead in Michigan, according to the New York Times. And that would put him ahead by well over 100,000 votes, about 105, 106,000 votes in the state of Michigan. I don't see how she overcomes that deficit based on how he's performing even in Wayne County, which is Detroit, their bluest county and biggest also population-wise county. So there you have it. At least 277. Let's see if they've on their meter where he goes. They have 312 right now on the meter for the number of electoral votes that Trump would get, and that's assuming everything stays in the momentum direction for Trump in Michigan and Nevada and Arizona. If he takes Michigan, Nevada, and Arizona, he has swept the battlegrounds. I mean, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin were the ones that, that's what they call the blue wall. But I don't see how she overcomes this deficit in Michigan to beat Trump. I don't see how they don't call Michigan sometime today.
Yeah, well, the one good thing there's a lot of good things out of this, but the one when it comes to the actual vote is this thing isn't going to be fought now all the way right up until Inauguration Day. It's not going to be fought all the way up to, remember, 2000, all the way up to right before Thanksgiving. The one thing that it does do is it gives half the country who was very, very suspicious of fair elections in this country the perception that the call was made, the votes were counted. That is something that gives, I think, the other side, and I mean the Republican side, confidence that there is integrity in the system, even though there's still problems that wish to be solved. For the most part, okay, the election system got it right.
Right.
There are so many things, and probably on tomorrow's show, I think you and I probably covering politics for as long as we have, could probably monologue each for 100 hours.
Associated Press declares Trump the winner.
Okay, so that's what I'm happy before we leave the show, because I didn't want to go to sleep and go, all right, how will the Democrats attempt to fight this?
Yeah,
will they
exactly.
Will they attempt to fight this in any way?
I don't think the will is there, and the reason is because of her. Look, I think they were willing to die on a hill for a Barack Obama politically, but who wants to die on the hill for her? They didn't. Keep in mind, the left didn't vote for her in the primary of 2020, which had her bowing out before 2020.
This is not over the top hyperbole. Because
Right.
there's hyperbole, then there's over the top hyperbole. Democrats hated her before 100 days ago.
Exactly.
They hated her.
Right. So I don't know that they try and look. I think they're better, and they can have it both ways. I think they're better with this scenario, and I could be wrong, but I think I'll be proven right. Yeah, there's going to be some protests, and there's going to be, but it's going to be we're not going to go and try and contest this. Really, we're just going to basically throw everything we can at Trump for the next 4 years. Which is what I suspected. It was early this year, into the spring, maybe early summer, that I said, I'm convinced that a number of people on the left look at this and go, okay, well, maybe we don't win it, and that's okay. We got Trump to hate on for 4 years again, and we know how to do that, and then we regroup and come back in 28. And I think that's going to be the tactic. Yeah, there's going to be definitely some protests, but I don't know that there's going to be much of a challenge here.
What do they come back at Trump, or what do they come back at Republicans against? This is, and I was going to go in a different tangent, but I could, like I said, I could talk about this on 20 different tangents for the next 5 days,
right? And
monologue on it. But where do they come back? Trump's done.
Mm-hmm.
He's over. I mean, except for the midterm.
Yeah.
But he's over when it comes to, we're going to demonize him. Also, if he's in office for another, he's in office for the midterms, what are they going to do when all of their projections that he's going to throw his political opposition in jail doesn't come true?
Washington Post now calling it for Trump as well.
So where do you go for 2028? You have to eventually stand for something. And you could tell that when things got tough, they were trying to first have her out there doing this, some kind of circular logic of taking all sides on every issue.
Yeah.
We know about the different ads that ran, the Israeli ads that ran. But it was really, as you could see, the last couple of weeks when they saw the polls not moving in their direction, everything was about not only Trump, but his followers were Nazis, were garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually got to the point of discussing, they were saying, well, we're not saying that they're garbage. You just called it a Nazi rally.
Yeah.
So you're saying that a Nazi rally has a Nazi talking, and you, by implying Nazi rally, that the people are Nazis, and then you had people, like Whoopi and The View and other Democrats come out and go, no, they all are Nazis. And everyone knows that's not true, but that's what you ran on. You didn't run on anything. Where do they run? And as I mentioned earlier, and this is to be seen, abortion is not going to be, in my humble opinion, as big of an issue as it has been over the last 50 years in this country. And that's because you've got all these blue states that are already putting in these laws to codify abortion.
Yep.
And so now that they've done that, it becomes more of a state issue of how far they're going to do it, but it doesn't become an issue you're concerned with anymore if you're a liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it didn't matter. You look at the, where, for example, look at the state of Texas. Look at the immigration. We've talked with the immigration to Texas is going to turn it. Well, Trump won a lot more over Harris than he did over Hillary Clinton,
right,
in the state of Texas, and a lot more over Biden. Same thing with Cruz. Look at the victory in Florida, the amount. And the other thing is, all of that was based on misinformation. But look at the polling out there. Scott Jennings talked about it. We've talked about it. Everything was a gimmick. This next gimmick will get us the win. This next gimmick will get us. So if we do this gimmick, oh, wow, there it is. We're going to win. Why? we got the Cheney endorsement. I mean,
Yeah.
this stuff was absolutely delusional, as we called it on the air. If the Democrats are going to continue to be delusional, and to me it all starts with they believe they can be delusional because they're the party that has endorsed and mainstreamed the fact that a man can be a woman if a man says they're a woman.
Yeah.
And they're the party that can't identify a woman, yet they claim they're the party of women. It doesn't make any damn sense. Nothing they say. It's delusional. It's if they are doing, we were talking about the other day, I don't know if it was on the air, off the air, about these drinks now that have pot and mushrooms in them.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh, my God. Everybody's really high walking around.
Seriously.
Nice little buzz of pot and
Well, here's the thing.
some form of acid that's legal.
Well, I said to myself, I'm getting to where I don't want to go outside because I'm going to be running into more of these people. And then I thought to myself, no, if they're doing this stuff, they're not leaving the house.
But, and so the stuff is so delusional that's coming from the left. Where do they go from now? They've lost Trump and they've lost abortion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying abortion isn't an issue. It's no longer a major issue.
Right.
It's no longer the issue that will change an election. And as of right now, who knows what will happen in the future. But when you see Trump still, now, I did notice that the percentage of Trump popular vote is a little less. That's because there's more votes overall being counted, but he's keeping his 5 million lead on the popular vote.
Right.
I mean, that's just, and so you can't do it. They were trying to do it. Was it Hayes on MSNBC? I said Lawrence O'Donnell earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It was Hayes. We got to get rid of the Electoral College. What the hell are you talking about? Got the popular vote.
Right. That's the thing, too, is that it's similar to 2004 versus 2000 in that, that whole Florida dangling Chad thing in 2000, and then a very decisive win for for George W. Bush's reelection in 2004. This is a decisive win for Trump. But I would say even there were more things right now working for Trump than were working for Bush in 2004.
I would say this. We've said this. I don't know how many times I've said it. If Trump wins, which he did, because we now know it's been verified because the New York Times said so. This is
the newspaper of record.
To me, this is the biggest political comeback in American political history.
I don't know if I show me a bigger one. Show me a bigger one.
If you take the
not even close.
If you take the confluence of events that have happened over the last year,
everything that they've
gone
thrown at him,
lawfare, you name it. I mean, just everything that was thrown at him. For him to win this election shows you two things. People paid attention and said, wait a minute. These are rogue prosecutors. These are rogue judges. There's rot in the system, and that has to stop.
Yep.
And the other thing is, and these people are so damn radical, we can't vote for them.
Right.
I think it was one or the other or a combination of both of those.
Well, it's interesting because Elon Musk, I was watching some of the Rogan thing with Elon Musk on it the other day, and I was watching it yesterday, and he said, just a few short years ago, I was a liberal,
Yeah.
And he said, there's just everything that I was learning. And I think a lot of that had to do with him buying Twitter and what he learned about what was going on, the truth he was learning if you think about it, in a way that nobody else was learning it. And thanks to him, we all learned it in terms of what was going on there and what the FBI was doing. And then everything thrown at Trump and all of that, it was an awakening, as I've been calling it, a big liberal awakening.
We'll see where it goes.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
What a night.
What a night.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, now that every major media outlet has called Trump the winner in the election, it's time to look at the Senate. He's still winning. That would be up to 52. and the races are tightening.
Wisconsin now, Baldwin has taken the lead over Hovde there in Wisconsin, so the Democrat taking the slight lead there. Michigan, Mike Rogers still has the lead there. Pennsylvania, we both believe they've stopped counting the votes in that race, but McCormick still has a full percentage point over Bob Casey. Out in Nevada, it's down to fewer than 1,000 votes, the lead that Sam Brown has over Jackie Rosen, the Democrat incumbent. So we'll see what happens throughout the day and where that ends up. But I think we're looking at least 52 seats for the GOP in the Senate. So they definitely have the majority. Let's see if they can pick up one or two more.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.